Hey everybody, welcome back, and today we've got another mystery camera. So you know the drill. Renz from Hard to Find Camera Store gave me another mystery camera. I have no idea what's beneath this piece of fabric, and I'm dying to find out, so let's hear what he has to say.
Today's mystery camera was released in 2009 and comes with DSLR glass on a fixed body.
2009, DSLR glass on a fixed body? I don't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna feel it up. No, let's just find out what it is, and I'm going to reveal the camera to you now. Oh, what? Okay, listen. I am not experienced with this type of camera, honestly. So what are we dealing with here? The HX1. I would have never guessed this in my life. I could tell you that. We're gonna have to look up the specs for this one, and especially the sensor size. You wanna know why? I'm gonna do some portraits tomorrow. So now I'm taking this camera, which is going to be challenging, but very much fun. I think we'll be fine. I'm going to have to make this work. Thanks, Reds. Okay, the initial shock has passed. I have the specs here with me. It's not getting much better, I have to say, but we can make any camera work. That's the challenge. That's what we like. We want to justify buying all the cameras. So let's start with the most challenging aspect of this camera. It's a 1/2.4-inch sensor, which basically means it's microscopic compared to what I'm used to. But that's a challenge for me. That's something I can work with this camera. The next thing that could be challenging is the lens, because it's equivalent to 28 to 560 millimeters on full frame. That's fine. That's all fine and good. You know, we can work with that. But then comes the aperture. It goes between 2.8 and 5.2. You could just say it's basically f1000 on full frame cropped sensors. But again, we can work with that. We can work with the limitation of that and put it to good use. So I'm looking so forward to this, and I'm looking so not forward to this at the same time. It has 9 megapixels though.
He's so nice.
Fun fact, did you know Kodak made DSLRs and they were Nikon mount? Welcome back. Now that was an experience. First of all, let me thank my buddy Frank. He's a DJ and artist in Rotterdam. I've known him for years, and he was willing to sacrifice some of his precious free time to get his portrait taken with this thing. So let's get into it, the good and the bad. Now, just so you know, we are lowering that bar from up here compared to last week's camera all the way down here, because that's what this camera needs. So let's start with the good. It turned on, it took pictures, and the pictures were viewable on the memory card, which I could view on the computer. 2 great things. The third one, more interestingly though, it has a manual setting, which means I had some control over the exposure. And the fourth thing is that it really made me work hard for these pictures. But now let's talk about, let's not call it bad. Let's call it challenges. I noticed in my test pictures that the sides of the image were really blurry. Now I'm assuming, and that's a risk you take with cameras this old that are fixed, right, is that the internal glass elements were misaligned. So there was only one way for me to work this camera into a shoot, and that was shooting at f5.6 or f8. And well, we talked about the depth of field difference. F8 comes at around f40 or more in full frame camera terms. So basically everything's sharp, but then again, the sensor is so small, so everything is kind of not sharp. I did manage to work it into a story, and I think that's the challenge here. I think when it comes to the downsides of cameras like this, they force you to think without the camera, right? So instead of me working the beautiful images, which it wasn't going to give me by itself, I had to work with the story. So luckily, Frank was a perfect person to get his portrait taken for this specific episode. Now, here comes the other stuff. I thought, you know, there's a viewfinder in there, so I'll probably use that because a viewfinder will always work better than a 20-year-old screen, right? Well, let me tell you this. It's non-existent in there. There's just a tiny sliver of a viewfinder. It's impossible to use. So I had to revert back to the screen, which is fine. You know, it worked in sunny conditions. It wasn't great, but it was doable. And especially because I was doing an indoor shoot, that wasn't going to be an issue at all. The last thing that's maybe challenging, maybe not, I think there's a lot of adapters for it out there, but the memory card. It is a Memory Stick Pro Duo. These cards aren't really like massively still in production, but there are many adapters out there, so I don't think it's that challenging. But getting a card reader with all the card slots, or specifically for this card, look into that. If you want a camera like this, always double check what type of storage is on these cameras. It has internal storage, 11 megabytes. So that's about 0.5 pictures you can take on it, just so you know. So let's round up and I'll give you my thoughts and feelings, most importantly, about this camera. So I am aptly renaming this segment Gas or Pass. Should you gas it up or pass it up? Which basically means pause and stop spending. Something I should say to myself often, and I know many of you as well. So honestly, to be completely fair, unless you really like the novelty of it and want this painful torture as a challenge, yes, buy it, buy everything. You know, as you can see, you can force it into something. But if you're thinking about actually taking pictures with it, you should hard pass on this one. Look at cameras, look at the file formats and the storage formats, and look at some specs before you get into one, right? If you see a camera like this lying around and you think, oh my God, it's pretty cheap, I should maybe get it, just make sure you look into the details, because if it's shot raw, that would have been amazing. If the lenses were still aligned, something you can test before you get one, it would have been, I think it would have been really workable. And there's definitely versions of this that are higher tier that definitely can give you that experience as well. So anyway, that was it for this episode. I had a blast. I was challenged to a new extent. I've never been through this. And last but not least, did this camera cure my gas? It did not.